It's the Roma Now podcast, the podcast of the Empire. Here's your host, Magnum Opprobrium. Hello and welcome to another episode of Roma Now. I'm Magnum Opprobrium. And I know I've said this before, but we have a truly great show for you today. Marcus Junius Brutus, better known around the world as Brutus, senator, soldier, nobleman, and of course, the most famous and beloved of Julius Caesar's assassins. Welcome, Brutus. Can I call you Brutus?
Of course, and it's great to be here. We have lots to discuss.
Indeed, we do. But first, I should point out that Roma Now is, as always, sponsored by your local Saturn dealer, now offering the sleek and sexy Saturn V. If you need a new chariot to replace that rusty old Apollo model, head down to Capital City Saturn today. Mention Roma Now and get a free set of bronze-clad spokes. Saturn, the chariot of tomorrow, today. So, Brutus, let's start at the top. It's March 14th, and there's a great commotion throughout the capital. What happened when Caesar returned from defeating Pompey and his armies?
Well, the whole thing was a whirlwind. I remember common people in the street celebrating Caesar's victory, which made me feel bad, especially given how much the same people had once cheered Pompey.
Well, this made you feel bad, I understand. But initially, I gather, you were just kind of brooding to yourself, right?
Yes, it's funny. My friend Cassius, a fellow senator, said to me, "I have not from your eyes that gentleness and show of love as I was wont to have." I can't really disagree. I consider myself friendly with Caesar, but I was definitely concerned.
Well, let's start with the day Caesar returned. Can you tell us what was happening at the arena?
Well, Mark Antony was there with Caesar, and there was a great crowd.
Well, let's stick on that for a second. What can you tell me about Antony?
Antony? Frankly, he's a bit of a lackey to Caesar. He's the kind of guy who will follow Caesar's every command.
I see. Now, so why does that bother you?
Because there's no one close to Caesar who will question him and disagree with him.
Okay, I see that. So let's stay with what happened. Was there some kind of disturbance?
Oh, yeah. A soothsayer told Caesar, what was it? Beware the Ides of March.
Beware the Ides of March. So what did Caesar think of that?
He didn't take it seriously at all.
He didn't take it seriously at all, even though the next day was the Ides of March. That's weird. Okay, well, anyway, did you go inside and watch the games?
No, I am not gamesome. I do lack some part of that quick spirit that is in Antony.
So what did you do instead of watching the games?
Well, Cassius came over and we had a real heart-to-heart, you know. The kind of conversation that only two Roman noblemen can have. I have to say, I can never keep secrets from Cassius. He saw what I was feeling all over my face.
What do you mean?
Well, he looks at me and says, "I do observe you now of late. You bear too stubborn and too strange a hand over your friend that loves you."
Cassius can be a bit of a flatterer, though, right?
In retrospect, yes. He told me, "I have heard where many of the best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes."
Wow, that's pretty serious flattery. So what happened next?
Well, there was a huge cheer from the arena. My gut reaction was fear because I felt that the people may have chosen Caesar for their king.
Well, why would that bother you?
Well, I was a bit concerned, that's all. But Cassius...
Wait, yeah, let's talk about Cassius for a second. He really seemed even more upset about Caesar than you were. I gather they have a bit of a history, eh?
I'll say. Cassius told me this long and rather involved story about the time when he and Caesar were younger, and Caesar wanted them both to swim across the Tiber. But in the middle of the river, Caesar tired and almost drowned, and Cassius had to pull him out. Much like Aeneas, our great ancestor from the flames of Troy, upon his shoulder the old Anchises bare.
Wow, that's very poetic. What did you make of Cassius in that moment when he's telling you that story?
Well, he was definitely agitated. Kept going on about how Caesar considers himself a god, like he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus, and we petty men walk under his huge legs to peep about and to find ourselves dishonorable graves.
Wow. What did you say to that?
I said I'd think about what he had to say, but you know me. I'm deliberate. I'd rather be a villager than to repute myself a son of Rome.
But your conversation was interrupted. The games ended. So what happened after that?
Well, we saw everyone coming out, and we bid Casca to tell us what had happened. It was exactly how I had expected. Mark Antony offered Caesar a crown thrice, and each time Caesar rejected it. But Casca made it clear that Caesar wanted the crown badly.
But I don't get it. If Caesar wanted the crown, which was offered him thrice, as you pointed out, so badly, why didn't he just take it?
Well, the rabble kept cheering every time he dismissed the crown, thinking Caesar was humble and wasn't going to seize the power even though he had defeated Pompey.
But you were still a bit uneasy, weren't you?
Because Cassius was very concerned about Caesar. I told him we could get a bite later.
But you had a rough night at your place.
Yes, I was up early. I was agitated by what Cassius had said. Since he first did wet me against Caesar, I had not slept. And even with Portia, my wife, I was distant and dwelt in the suburbs of her good pleasure. Looking back, she was right to say I treated her more a harlot than a wife.
Whoa, Brutus, go easy on yourself. These were hard times.
True. I was up early thinking, if Caesar be crowned, how that might change his nature. Remember, it is the bright day that brings forth the adder. But 'tis a common proof that lowliness is a young ambition's ladder, whereto the climber upward turns his face. He then unto the ladder turns his back, looks into the clouds, and scorns the base degrees by which he did ascend. So Caesar may. And I started to think of him as a serpent's egg which hatched would grow mischievous. So I thought maybe we should kill him in the shell.
So Cassius and a bunch of noblemen come to your place early on March 15th. What happened? Did you swear some kind of resolution?
No, we did not take some kind of oath because our cause was just. What other oath than to honesty engage that this shall be, or will we fall for it? Swear priests and cowards and men cautious, old feeble carrions and such suffering souls that welcome wrongs, unto bad causes swear, such creatures as men doubt but do not stain the even virtue of our enterprise.
Okay, so you decided to kill Caesar. But why not Antony too? After all, he's such a kiss-ass. Did Cassius want to kill Antony?
Yes, he did, but I said our course will seem too bloody, to cut the head off and hack the limbs, like wrath and death and envy afterwards. For Antony but is a limb of Caesar. Let us be sacrificers, not butchers. Let's carve him as a dish fit for the gods, not hew him as a carcass fit for hounds. And let our hearts, as subtle masters do, stir up the servants to an act of rage, and after seem to chide them. This shall make our purpose necessary and not envious.
But Cassius really wanted to kill Antony. In retrospect, what do you think of that idea?
Well, in retrospect, knowing what I know now, yes, we should have killed that coward.
Okay, so talk us through what happened next. My understanding is that Caesar decided not to come to the Senate that day. Why not?
Because his wife had some kind of premonition. But we were ready. Dacius Brutus said he would get Caesar to the Senate by flattering him. Caesar loves to hear that unicorns may be betrayed with trees, and bears with glasses, elephants with holes, lions with toils, and men with flatterers. But then he says he hates flatterers until you flatter him.
So Caesar comes to the Senate. I gather that's where it all went down, right? Was Caesar cocky?
Yes, he noticed the soothsayer and said, the Ides of March have come. But of course, the soothsayer pointed out, but not God.
So Caesar ignored that warning? So then what happened?
Metellus Cimber created a diversion by asking Caesar to pardon his brother. Caesar refused, of course, but in the confusion, Casca stabbed him first, then the others.
And what about you, Brutus? Did you stab Caesar too?
Yes, at the end. I was the last.
How did Caesar take it?
Actually, sort of well. He said, and I'm quoting here, Et tu, Brute? Which means, you too, Brutus. Then fall, Caesar. I think he was saying, if you're in on this, Brutus, you must have a reason, because you are so honorable. I was a bit flattered.
Yeah, but you just killed Caesar, and the people will think you're committing treason, so what did you do then?
This was my idea. I told them, stoop, Romans, stoop, and let us bathe our hands in Caesar's blood up to the elbows, and besmear our swords, then walk we forth, even to the marketplace, and waving our red weapons over our heads. Let's all cry peace, freedom, and liberty.
Peace, freedom, and liberty? Did you think anyone was going to buy that?
Well, Cassius was convinced the people would see our cause as noble. He said all of them would follow me out and show the people the most boldest and best of hearts in Rome.
Where was Antony in all this?
He fled, but sent a servant who said, if Brutus will vouchsafe that Antony may safely come to him, and be resolved how Caesar hath deserved to lie in death, that he would follow the fortunes and affairs of noble Brutus with all true faith.
Yeah, come on. Did you believe him?
I did. I told Cassius, I know that we shall have him well to friend.
What did Cassius say?
I wish we may, but yet I have a mind that fears him much, and my misgiving still falls shrewdly to the purpose.
All right, Brutus, look, I got to ask the tough questions. Why did you let Mark Antony speak at Caesar's funeral?
Well, first, he comes to us and tells us to kill him, but in retrospect, I should have listened closer, because he was a bit condescending, saying, no place will please me so, no mean of death, as here by Caesar and by you cut off, the choice and master spirits of this age. That bit about master spirits should have tipped me off.
Indeed, it sounds very sarcastic, but you were optimistic even to the end.
Yeah, I told them, we must appear bloody and cruel, as by our hands, and this is our present act as you see we do. Our hearts you see not, they are pitiful, and to pity the general wrong of Rome. As fire drives out fire, so pity, pity. And that seems to satisfy Antony, because after that he said, I doubt not of your wisdom. But he still wanted to speak at the funeral, and I was okay with that.
You were okay with that? I gotta believe Cassius is freaking out at this point.
Yes, he pulls me aside and says, Brutus, a word with you. You know not what you do. Do not consent that Antony speak at his funeral. Know you how much the people may be moved by that which you will utter. But I was certain I could sway the crowd by speaking first and telling them why we killed Caesar and that we were allowing Antony to speak at the funeral too. I told Cassius, it shall advantage us more than do us wrong. And then I told Antony, you shall not in your funeral speech blame us, but speak all good you can devise of Caesar, and say you do it by our permission.
Yeah. But how did that go down? Did you know that after you left, Antony screamed, oh, pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth, that I am meek and gentle with these butchers! He basically promised to curse you and your act. Did you know that would happen?
Well, at the time, I didn't.
So you go into the forum and the people are angry, right? How did you answer them?
If there be any in this assembly, any dear friend of Caesar's, to him I say that Brutus's love to Caesar was no less than his. If then that friend demand that why Brutus rose against Caesar, this is my answer. Not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. Had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves, than that Caesar were dead to live all free men? As Caesar loved me, I weep for him. As he was fortunate, I rejoice at it. As he was valiant, I honor him. But as he was ambitious, I slew him.
That's pretty powerful stuff, that whole bit about living as slaves. But how did that go over?
I think I convinced them. I ended by saying, with this I depart, that as I slew my best lover for the good of Rome, I shall have the same dagger for myself, when it shall please my country to need my death. And then they yelled out, live, Brutus, live, live. So I felt pretty good.
Yeah, they were kind of cheering for you when you left. So how long did that good cheer last?
About a sixth of an hour, because Antony brought the house down. Man, that guy was good. By the time he was done with the friends, Romans, and countrymen thing, I knew we were in trouble. But then, when he started talking about Caesar's will and how everyone was going to get 75 drachmas, I had to get out of the capital quickly.
75 drachmas is a lot. Any regrets?
Well, I should have realized that Cassius wasn't doing this for the most noble reasons. You know, he took bribes, right? When Caesar's ghost came to me on the battlefield, I knew we were done for. I still think we did the right thing, but maybe we should have planned this a bit better. One thing for sure. We should not have let Antony speak.
Wow, that's some startling confessions from Junius Brutus on the Roma Now podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Magnum Opprobrium. Brutus, I want to thank you for coming down and sharing your thoughts about really what is the central moment in Roman history.
My pleasure.
And this has been Roma Now, the podcast of the Empire, sponsored as always by Capital City Saturn.